All right, guys, we are continuing to troubleshoot my R90/6. I don't know if you recall, we have this list of recommendations what might be wrong with my motorcycle since it starts sputtering and cutting out at full throttle runs down the freeway, usually around 5,500 to 6,000 RPM, probably past 85 miles an hour. I have to really hold the throttle wide open in fifth gear for a little while, 20-30 seconds before it starts that, and it's literally it feels like fuel starvation. It doesn't feel like the ignition is cutting out. It's just as if it's running out of fuel. And we have already gone through some of the list here. Number one, check fuel lines. We did that. Check fuel cap vent. I showed that in the video that the seal and the inner part of the cap is completely new and the vent hole is clear and open. Check spark plug caps. We did that. And then I did a run and opened the cap while the problem was occurring, which is a little unnerving. 85 miles, 90 miles an hour, taking one hand of the handlebar, trying to open your fuel cap. It didn't change anything. So it was still sputtering, you know, having like a fuel starvation situation going on. Checked for bad grounds. We cleaned that all up. We put a star washer at the main ground point. We checked the primary and secondary resistance of the coil. They are a little above the specs that I found in one of our manuals, but they're at least consistent. And now we're getting 2.7, which I haven't done yet. I have both petcocks closed. Engine is cold, and we're just gonna open up our little bale here and have a little container. Of course, I'm only wearing one glove. I wonder what the idea was with that. And now what we're going to do, so my float bowl is completely clean. Like I said, I already went through this motorcycle just a few months ago, cleaned everything. Now we're just going to check if the float level is more or less in spec. And for that, I'm going to pause you real quick. I'm going to put you in a better location, and then we're going to test that by opening up the petcock and then moving the float up and down and seeing it turn off. And when it's in the turned off position, the bracket here should be parallel to the housing. And I'm going to give you a perfect view of that. So I angled you guys so that you should have a perfect view of this. Let's put my little container somewhere in line with the float. Now I'm going to hold the float up and then open the petcock. All right, and now let's see. So I am pretty much pretending to be the fuel level. If I let it come down, it should open and fuel should come out. And then we're going to close it back up, just go up very slowly. And the moment it stops, I will check whether or not the brass bracket on the float is in line, parallel with the housing. Oh my goodness, kicking stuff behind me. All right, guys, are you ready? I am. Here's the fuel. There, it turns off. Okay, so I can see that my my float level is clearly not parallel to the housing. So we definitely have to bend the floats. There's a little tab in there, right where the float needle is. That needs to be bent towards the needle a little bit. Okay, let me turn off the petcocks. And there's the second one. All right, there we go. And let me get a small screwdriver. So let's see if we can do that without taking the float off. We should be able to. So I'm just okay. So let's do it again. Petcock, I think we can just open one. That should be okay. Still not where we need to be. Let me get an even smaller flathead screwdriver, and maybe we can get to the little, yeah, we can get to it from here. Okay. All right. This is the Snowbum approved method, I hope at least. So close, petcock open, fuel comes out, and right that looks a little better, but not perfect yet. Okay, let me put on a second glove here. Gasoline is definitely not the best thing to get on your skin if you want to avoid cancer later in your life. So, petcock on again. Okay, I think I was doing something kind of counterintuitive. I think I was bending the tab the wrong direction, actually. Let's see. We need to get the float higher up. So that means that we need to lower that little tab there. That's better. If I can move you out of the way real quick. So now, even with you guys out of the way, it looks like the brass bracket and the bottom of the carburetor is now parallel right at the moment when it closes. So now I'm going to put the float bowl back on here, and we're going to do that on the other side. So we closed up the other side. Of course, used some carb cleaner real quick and rinsed out the float bowl. Now we're going to open up this float bowl here and do the same test one more time. We want to make sure the float levels are the same. So we want to make sure that the point where the float needle closes is at the same position or same level, and this bracket lines up parallel to the carburetor. So let's do this again. Opening petcock, have a container sitting down here that catches most of the fuel. Yeah, not quite. So we need to get the carb high, the float higher. That means we need to bring the little lever here that pushes the float needle down a little bit. Okay, let's see. Open. No. Close. Okay, let's see again. Open. Much better. That looks good. So this float bowl, again, also very clean. I don't even think that I need to do any cleaning here. This is a brand new one. I had a pretty interesting leak. So I didn't have too high of a fuel level in the float bowl, so it wouldn't come out the overrun here out of this little brass tube. But where the brass tube is punched or pushed into the cast housing, that's where it was leaking. So I could put fuel in here and just hold it and it would drip at the bottom, and it was literally a leak between those two materials, the brass and the cast housing. So I replaced this. The float bowls are around 45 bucks roughly. All right, that's that. So I guess we can scratch that off the list then. The last test that we have to do is the fuel flow test. I have both petcocks closed. We're again going to take one float bowl off at a time, dump it out, put it aside. And now I have a measuring cup here that gives me 2-ounce increments. I know it's not the most precise, but supposedly, in accordance to an article on Snowbum's webpage, we're supposed to get 12 ounces of fuel per carburetor per minute. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this measuring cup under the float there, under the carburetor. I'm going to manually close. I have to kind of manage to be able to see my stopwatch here. How are we going to do that? Let's see. Put just my watch around my handlebar here on this side. And I have a second hand. All right, so I'm going to close the float, open up both petcocks and open it now. And now we're going to let it run for exactly 1 minute. That's going to be a lot of fuel, I think, because it's coming out pretty good. Let's see, so we're at 15 seconds and we're already past the 4-ounce mark. So I guess a minimum of 12 ounces. I will verify that number for you. Now we're at 30 seconds and we're at about 8 ounces. And we're at not even 45 seconds, 45 seconds, and we're past the 12-ounce mark. And we're getting close to a minute, sticking my finger in there. 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2, 1, and stop. Okay, closing both petcocks, taking my measuring cup with the results away, getting my waste container here. Okay, that's it. So, and the final result on this side is, yeah, let me move you guys too, so you can see as well. Zooming in, we're 12. Oh, yeah, it's 4 ounces each. I said 2 ounces. So we're at, I would say, halfway point would be 14, maybe 15 ounces. That is 1 minute. 1 minute on this carb. And now we're going to do the same on the other side. How about that? So, and now we're going to do the other side. Take the the float bowl, my goodness, float bowl off. Dump it out, put it aside. Again, put our measuring cup. Somehow the brake lever is in the way here. Is this going to work? How are we going to put, here we go. All right, held by the brake lever. So both petcocks are off at the moment. I will put my watch again in a place where I can see it. How about you guys see it as well? There you go. And maybe we zoom out a little bit. Zoom out. There you go. All right, we're going to do the same thing. I hold the float up, open both petcocks, and then wait until the second hand comes past the full minute. And then we'll open it and let it run, let it rip. Okay, float is closed. Petcock 1, petcock 2. Five more seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1, go. All right, and we're testing. "20 seconds. We're past 4 ounces, roughly. 30 seconds. This side seems to be a little slower than the other, even though both petcocks are open. Now past 8 ounces, 45 seconds. All right, I'm getting ready with my hand. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and off. All right, guys. Our results taken aside. Both petcocks off. A couple driblets. And no, it wasn't slower. That was just my imagination. So 1 minute. Let's see. Once it starts wobbling. But we're about at 16 ounces, roughly at 16 ounces. So this side here seems to be flowing a little better. I will verify the number of what I'm supposed to have minimum. And so this concludes our list here. So I checked the float level. Oh, there's one thing I haven't checked, which is the float weights. We just did the flow rate, the float weights. All right, let's do that too. So last thing on our list is weighing those floats. I have no idea how old they are. They don't look old. Usually the old ones, they literally turned brown. So we are punching this out. Remember that your float pin here has a serrated end and a non-serrated or knurled end. And you want to, I always put the knurled end towards the engine block, so I push them in from the engine side, and then you really only have to tap that in ever so slightly. It goes in pretty easily, actually. All right, now we have one float here and a float needle. I'm going to put the needle and the pin into the float bowl on the ground. All right, and I already got my, sorry guys, my scale set up here on the seat. A new one is about 10 grams. See, it's not super dark brown. They don't look really that old, but let's see. 13. I think Snowbum says 13.5 gram is the point where you should replace it. So this is borderline, I guess. I guess I will start looking around for a set of new ones. And there's a question for you guys. Leave it down in the comment. Oh, 14 gram. So we're probably right between 13 and 14 gram. Unfortunately, it doesn't show decimal points. Has any one of you guys used one of those cheap Chinese-made rebuild kits? I know it's not worth it, but all right, let's test the second one and over there. All right, next side. Float bowl off. Nope. Yeah, there's always a little bit of some leftover fuel in the line. It just came out and spilled on the ground, of course. And then we're gonna take the pin out. I might be pushing it the wrong direction. That's very possible. Let's see. Yeah, looks like it. That wasn't the greatest idea I ever had. What are we going to do now? How am I going to get that out? Hold on, guys. So I managed to get my float pin out this way. So I didn't follow my own idea and pushed it in from the wrong direction. So next time I'm going to stick it in from the engine side first. I don't know if you can see the knurled end here. Anyways, let me dump out the fuel out of the float bowl. And the parts go into the float bowl so we don't lose them. And a little scale here. Turn that around. There you go. So this one is 12. This is also a different color of bracket. The bracket is silver. The other one was brass. And this the float looks even brighter in color. So this is probably, oh, this is 13 now. Dang it. And let's reset this to 0. Let's measure this one more time. 12. Yeah. I think it's telling me to replace them. This is in ounces. 13. All right. All right, guys. That's how it goes. I guess they are on the edge of needing to be replaced. Now I'm just going to put it all back together and then do another test run and see if the motorcycle still has sputtering going on. All right, guys, take care. Hey guys, I'm happy to report that all our troubleshooting has yielded some results. In the first video, as you remember, we went through mostly wiring, electrical troubleshooting, replacing some cables, improving the ground. That didn't change anything, so the first test run that I did, I still had the full throttle stuttering and sputtering. But now after the second part of the troubleshooting with adjusting the float levels, I've done another test ride, and the full throttle issue is gone. So it is fixed. The floats are now adjusted, so I guess that I have enough fuel in the float bowls, and I can go full throttle as long as I want. I might have exceeded the speed limit by like 5 miles an hour while testing. So yeah, I want to thank the Airhead list, the mailing list that I'm a member of, that gave me all those suggestions. I worked through the list and managed to fix my bike. In the video you saw that 13 gram of a float is not the cutoff to replace them. It's actually the OEM weight that even the BMW service manual gives me. So for an R90/6, the float is supposed to be 13 grams. So my floats are all fine. I would still be interested in knowing if any one of you has ever used one of those Chinese-made rebuild kits, significantly cheaper than one from Bing. But that's just curiosity on my end. So yeah, thank you Airhead List for contributing and helping me out, and you are great. Thumbs up, guys. And yeah, my bike is now running like a champ. Thanks.